All right, welcome to Kingdom Commentary, GPS to Success. We are quite fortunate to have on the call today Mr. Jeorge Logan, and just a little bit of on the Jeorge Logan that I know. We met a while back, doing some things in the community at I think it was a what was that? It wasn't a
That
conference. It
was
was
a resilience training,
yeah,
social
resilience training.
resilience training.
Social resilience training. And the first thing that I remember about you, Jeorge, was you had something to say. I'm like, who is this guy that, because usually you get into a big environment like that, people kind of try to fill each other out. Not a lot of on the first question, you had something to say. The third question, you had something to say. And not something that's just because some people just run their mouth just to run their mouth. You had something to say that was impactful, like, dang, I never thought of it that way. You know what? That is right. So that was my first impressions of that's how you presented on the first go round, like a guy that got something to say, not in a negative way, but definitely has the gift of gab and motivation. Um, so what and then once I got to know you, working with you in partnership, um, it's been a great situation. So, but hearing your personal story though, you know, is when I've heard it, it's one of incredible transformation from addiction to incarceration to becoming a licensed professional clinical counselor, an executive director. In that journey, what was a turning point for you, and how did that moment set you on that new path?
You say, what was it that actually made me make the turn?
What was that turning point for you? Right. What was that turning point?
I'll have to say that my turning point came when my actual wake up call came when I kind of felt the disappointment
Mm,
from people that I loved and respected. And it became evident to me that, I come to realize that when somebody tells you you have so much potential, that's not a compliment,
man.
which means you're not doing all you're capable of doing. And for so long, it had just been simply that I was fine. I'll take what I get. I'll do what I want and I'll take what I get. And when I finally got to the place where I looked around and I'm not happy with what I have,
Mhm.
I'm not okay with where I'm at. And then when I look at me through the lenses of others, I'm not okay with who I am. I keep telling myself, oh, I ain't no bad dude. I mean, I'm really a nice guy. But when the people that love me, and really what it came down to is somebody had told me they ran into my mother, a lifelong friend of mine that I hadn't seen in years. I bumped into him and he told me, man, I just saw your mother. And I asked her how you was doing. And she didn't even say nothing. She just hung her head and shook her head. And that really made me think, wow,
Mm,
if the person who loves me more than everybody else in the world has nothing good to say about me,
mm.
what kind of a person am I? And that was the point where I really took a step back and started looking at myself. And then somebody told me, it's like, well, who you are today is not determined by what you've done in the past, it's determined by what you do now. Imagine the person that you want to be and
Right.
then do the things that that person would do, and you will be that person. And I've taken that to heart, and I purposely and intentionally do the things that the person I want to be would do.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Shoot. I mean, I know, man, a lot of people that struggle with addiction, they feel like lasting change is out of reach. How do you use your own story to inspire hope in the people that you serve through the change agency?
To be totally honest, I honestly, in professionally, I don't share my background a lot.
Okay.
I try and avoid it, as a matter
Okay.
of fact, because it's not about me. Yes, I understand the inspiration. I understand the encouragement that if I can do it, you can do it. It can be that change is possible. But um, I focus more on trying to look at a person and how they see themselves and how they feel about what they honestly see. When you take the key is taking an honest look at myself and not looking at myself through that filter of what I could be or what my intentions were, but actually what I did, what my actual behavior was. But there are the times that I come to tell people, like it is possible. You can be whatever you decide you want to be, and don't be the person who puts limits on you.
Well,
I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm going to help you decide what you want to do and then do it.
so okay, so you had your kind of like your bottom type situations where you hit rock bottom, but not only did you rebound, but you rebounded. You started an agency, that does that is put in place to help others who've been in the same or similar situations. How did that whole process happen?
So I am going to give credit where credit is due. Uh, I recognize I can give you the easy answer to say it's all God, all right? And if you want to boil it down to the basics, it's all God. But the
Yeah.
truth of the
How did he
matter
take you through
is,
that? How did
right, there was
yes.
a whole process. All right. I genuinely believe that the
Kingdom
people
concept.
that have been influential in my life, the
Mm-hmm.
people that have made it possible for me to reach the goals I set for myself were the people who God placed there. And I
Yep.
recognize that. It was a question of when I paroled. Um, my recovery actually started in prison.
Okay.
Well, my recovery started in 1997. My clean date of 2005 came while I was incarcerated in California Department of Corrections. I didn't parole until 2010. And I was really fortunate that in Sacramento County, California, they had a reentry program that was really the foundational basis, the outline for what I do now. Because essentially what they did is they bought a lot of community resources and they brought them all into one room where parolees could walk through this room of resources
Yeah.
and get access to what they needed to change their life. You weren't forced to go. You weren't punished for not doing anything. But if you wanted to do something, they made the opportunity available there for you to do it. And I'm gonna tell you, they lit a fire under me. I hit every table. I talked to everybody. I
Right.
find
Right.
out what was available to me, and I took
Exactly.
advantage of it. And
Kingdom
and
concept.
fortunately, the parole office and the reentry program saw my enthusiasm. They saw my dedication, and they said, "Hey, man," and there was a reward. If you utilize this program and if you took full advantage of it, then the reward was a job with the Department of Transportation walking along the side of the highway picking up trash. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that's not my goal. I'm not doing this so that I can get a job on the side of the highway. I'm doing this so that I can be in a position to do better in life. They saw that, so they said, we'll create a job for you. We're going to create a job for you as a mentor. We're going to create for people that come along
Okay.
that want to do what you do. You can take them by the hand and walk them through how to do it, and we'll pay you to do that. And I realized, hey,
Wow.
just by doing what's best for me and keeping my word and doing what I'm supposed to do,
Yep.
I can make money.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
saw that and I'm like, well, shoot, I could actually make a career out of this.
Right.
And but they believed in me. They
They
backed
believed
me.
in you. Yeah.
They made it possible for me to succeed by helping others succeed.
Right. Right.
And they ignited it in me and I've just kept going from there.
There it is. So that kind of feeds into the next question, which is, those key components of the change agency. It sounds to me that like those things are already embedded when you came through that program. But what are some things that makes the change agency's approach to recovery unique, especially in the areas of sober living, outpatient, and intensive inpatient therapy?
Well, we have one governing rule, and that is do what you said you needed to do. because it is exhausting to try and make somebody change.
Yeah.
And our job is not to make you change. Our job is to make change available for those who want it. And that's our philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I am successful when I have provided you with the referrals, resources, and support and motivation to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself in life. My success is not measured by how well you do. My success is measured by how well I've made it available for you to do what you need to do. That way I don't get discouraged when people don't do it. I have to look at, am I making change available?
Like, yeah. And you said support, resources, and motivation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I said that's good. And now being a black male executive director, CEO in the mental health profession, that's a whole thing in and of itself. How important is representation in this field for both those the people that are in recovery and those entering the recovery as a profession?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't see myself as a black director, small business owner, nonprofit director. I see myself as a public servant, period. Period. All
Yeah.
right. Because I don't do that subcategory. I don't. Because I am trying to be great, period. I am not trying to be the best black anything. I'm trying to be the best, period.
Okay.
I
Absolutely.
want to be able to hold my record up next to anybody
Mm-hmm.
and have it shine,
Yeah.
because I think our society does that too much. Uh, it is not a question of, I don't need to convince anybody that my life matters.
Mm-hmm.
I need to believe that my life matters. I don't have to convince you that I am great.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be great. And that is my goal. And when I recognize that, when I recognize my own greatness and strive for it, you don't have any option but to see it. I don't need to convince anybody else of it. I don't, like I said, I try not to do the subcategories because my greatness is in me. It's on my shirt. You can't see it. It says royalty runs in my veins.
It runs in your veins.
I just
Man,
need to be who I am, and
okay.
everybody else will see it.
Yes, sir. I like that. That's a kingdom concept. I wanted so here's what some of the things I've heard that jumped out at me. So you take advantage, and these are kingdom concepts. These are concepts that are like gravity, where they work whether you believe it or not. So we're not
Right.
going into what you believe at this point, but so if you all were paying attention to what Mr. Logan talked about, he said, take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. Yes, God did it, but God will take you through a whole set of processes that will involve people, situations, and circumstances. So take advantage of them. We talked about God confidence and recognizing that God has put greatness on the inside of you, and so it's up to you to see that greatness and to embrace that greatness and walk in it. And what other people think and say, that's out of our pay grade. That's not up to us. Did I capture that pretty accurately,
Yes.
Jeorge?
I would say that is quite accurate. Yes. And those are
And
the
then
things that will actually make the difference in my life when I'm doing those things. And I say this to people all the time. I want you to take advantage of the opportunity that I have presented to you, but don't abuse it.
okay,
There's a big difference. Because I'll tell you, in my old thinking, I had to take all I could get right now because I never knew if I was going to get it again. All right.
yeah,
In some cases, I'll take something that really is no use to me or isn't going to benefit me just because it's there. Everything that glitters isn't gold. So I need to take advantage of opportunity, but not abuse them.
You were talking about, so you have the change agency, and you said that the change agency and the concept of the change agency, we're not responsible for change, but we are responsible for support, resources, and motivation. And
But
when you say that, I thought of a kingdom scripture in the Bible that talks about, uh, one waters, one plants, one waters, but God gives the increase. And so,
that's very true.
and that really embodies really what you talked about, is like, and when you release yourself from having to be responsible for the change, because people, we go in and out, we vacillate, we are imperfect beings. If the change doesn't happen as fast as you think it should happen, then you're not all bent out of shape and dejected because the change didn't happen when you expected it to happen, how fast or slow you expected it to happen. But stay responsible for the other side of the equation, which is the support, the resources, and the motivation. Huh.
I have a genuine belief that says, first of all, I lift up my eyes to the hills from which cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord that made heaven and earth. I know what the source of my blessing is.
Yeah.
I'm not confused about that. And I am not blessed. God doesn't bless me to make my life better. He blesses me so that I might be in a position to help other people make their life better. And so long as I keep that perspective, so long as I remember that, my blessing honestly comes, the greatest blessing that I have gotten in recovery and in my walk in faith is that peace that surpasses all understanding. That at the end of the night, I can lay my head down on my pillow, close my eyes, and go before God and know that I am blessed, and know that I truly am the child of God, and I can see the blessings
Yeah.
of his hand in my life. And I
Yeah.
know that that is my blessing. If I get everything else taken away, if the business goes away, if I lose the money, if people hate me, as long as I can lay my head down and go before God and be like, I know I did what you had me to do to the best of my ability, and me and
Yeah.
you are cool. That
Yeah.
is my blessing.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yes.
I strive for. I
That's
try to
good.
make sure that I am, to the best of my ability, doing what I believe it is that God would have me to do.
Well, I certainly believe so. I know, from personal experience, again, having dealt with you, I think it's a little over 2 years that we've been
I think it's a
partnering,
little
right?
more than that, man. You're talking right after COVID.
Right. Wow, that's crazy how time be flying like that. You're
That's
right. Okay, that was right
20,
after COVID.
at least 21 or 22.
Man, wow. And I, having worked in the community, deal with a lot of people, once you start talking about, you know, money and things like that, I've seen relationships change on the dime. I mean, and to me, that's a litmus test of in terms of our people really walking the walk. And for that standpoint, word is bond. You did exactly what you said you were going to do. And it was so crazy because I never thought that you would give me a hand up. Like, because of my past experiences of people like, nope, you got to get it yourself. And so I'm used to grinding. I'm used to going out there, and you know what? I don't need no. I would love some help, but I'm not going to bank on it. And it took me a couple times to realize that, maybe a few times, that you are real with this. And what really crystallized it for me was when a conflict came up, and it could have been misconstrued. It could have been, it could have been a bad situation. but you showed me grace. And I'm like, man, I really appreciate that. And I said, at that point, I never forgot that. Like, that is where the rubber meets the road. He's not just talking his talk. He's walking the walk, and that's any closing comments for our viewers, George, in terms of just any closing comments.
The only thing I'm gonna say is, I didn't get here in a day. My mother used to tell me. She told me one time. She said that I am capable of anything that I set my mind to. If
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to the moon, I can. I just can't take a running start and jump and land on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to go to the moon, I'm going to have to go to college and learn engineering and get some degrees. And then I'm going to have to go to join NASA's astronaut program and get accepted. And then I'm going to have to get on a rocket ship. And then I am going to have to fly on that to the moon. But I am capable of doing all those things. I can't just run and jump. In other words, once I've set my goal, I have to decide what it is that I need to do in order to reach that goal. And then I have to believe that I'm capable of doing all those things. Otherwise, I'm never going to reach that goal. That's my word of encouragement. Stick to the plan, one step at a time, one day at a time, but keep your end goal in mind.
And what I have here, again, if you want to reach out to the change agency, let me see here. I'm putting this information here with that.
TCADayton.org.
TCA Dayton. Let me put in here. TCA. TCA Dayton.
.org.
Let me put that in the chat so that'll pop up. If you're having any challenges with addiction, again, this is where you get them. TCADayton.org. The phone number is 937-203-8115.
That is correct.
And I'll get that in there. And again, I just again thank you, Mr. Logan, for gracing us with your presence today on Kingdom Concepts GPS to Success channel. We appreciate you, and we look forward for keep us updated on things that you're doing. We would definitely love to have you back at some point in time. And again, thank you for your time today, Mr. Logan.
No problem, man. Y'all take care.
All right.